first impressions are often deceiving. And with one glance at me, you may not be able to tell that I am a gamer. I play all the games. Call of Duty, Fortnite, Kirby's Epic Yarn, Club Penguin. All right, I sort of misled you there. I'm not the greatest gamer, or even an avid one, but gaming fascinates me. There's something about it that's so addicting. The obvious answer is that games are simple, safe, fun, but I need a little more than that. So, of course, I turned to psychological studies, and they had an answer for me way back in 1975. This is self-determination theory, created by researchers Richard Ryan and Edward Deci. It has 3 components: relatedness, competence, and autonomy, which basically say that we all want to feel connected to others, we all want to gain mastery in what we do, and we all want to feel in control. Now, I believe that these 3 things are what we all strive for in life, and apparently, they're all met when people game. Except, of course, when we see that dreaded, gruesome, and frankly sickening screen. Game over. Failure is a topic that we are all familiar with. You don't need to search to define it. You don't need to search to find what it feels like. I've deftly illustrated here exactly how I feel when I fail. Yeah, sorry about that. The copyright claims got to me. Now, it's the year 2020, and you had to have predicted this joke. We're going to use hindsight to reflect on our past. Together, we're going to arm ourselves with the weapons of redefinition, refinement, and resignment to combat that all too well-known boss, failure, and hopefully gain the same rush of satisfaction from life as we do from video games. In my 9+ years of schooling, one idea has ingrained itself into my mind. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. No, it's that an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Or in other words, actually studying for the test is better than scrambling for extra credit, Suhan. In this context, I'm talking about what happens before the failure, going to the root of it all, how you define yourself. Let's take a look at my profile. This is a list of all my major life achievements. And now let's imagine I have a friend. I know it's going to take a big leap of imagination, but let's say this friend really likes me and talks about me to other people. Do you imagine that person describing my achievements? No, that's ridiculous. We describe others in adjectives, not nouns. So why would you view yourself that way? In elementary school, I defined myself like this. I was the best speller, and everyone knew it. I'd won the 2nd grade spelling bee, so when the 5th grade one came around, I knew I had it in the bag. So when I lost in the first round on the word origin, I was fuming and also crying. I was supposed to be the best speller, but I'd lost, so I started to rethink all my notions of myself. Maybe I was never a good speller. Maybe I wasn't good at anything. Maybe I didn't even know who I was. Eventually, I got over myself and that psychological trauma. The fact remains, if I had made the conscious decision beforehand to change how I viewed myself, then that pain could have been prevented. I wasn't just the best speller. I was a fun-loving and overtly competitive kid who participated in the occasional spelling bee. It sounds simple, but actively choosing to say before any competition that my identity cannot be taken away by a simple defeat makes failure hurt just a little bit less. The next spelling bee I took part in, I also lost. It was formaldehyde this time, but I walked off that stage feeling okay and not crying. I swear I didn't cry. But hypothetically, totally hypothetically, if I had started to cry, I knew I had my family in the wings to hold my hair and give me tissues. Family and friends are there to support you when you're at your lowest, so accept that support. In fact, individuals with strong supportive relationships have been found to be buffered from the negative effects of stress and to flourish in even the most unfavorable circumstances. So, hugging your mom might actually help you win that ping pong tournament barehanded. But I totally understand. It's embarrassing to fail in front of people you know. But Sometimes we get so caught up in the frustration and guilt and regret that we fail to recognize the true repercussions of our defeat. Did losing the 5th grade spelling bee really adversely affect me in any way? No. But I can only recognize that after stepping away from the situation. Think of yourself like Pac-Man. Pac-Man is a really speedy and I'm sure very intelligent guy. As a Pac child, he lay in his Pac bed and dreamed to be an IRS tax collector. But instead, Pac-Man is halted from achieving his dreams because the ghosts of his past defeats haunt him. Only by forgetting his past and distancing himself can Pac-Man effectively chase his future. What has happened has happened. Nothing, unless you own a DeLorean, can change that. So what's the point in wasting time and energy in recounting the past? Well, sometimes there is a point. Sometimes there is something to be gained by recalling the past. When I came dead last at a speech and debate tournament earlier this year, I felt awful. I wanted to just run out of there. But I realized every judge had to have had a reason to vote me down. And by letting my frustration get the better of me, this would happen again and again. So I took a day, felt all that I was feeling, and read through my feedback. And immediately, I saw improvements. Even now, my current partner and I keep a log of all the feedback that we receive. And if you ever saw me walking down the hall, you might see me chattering to myself. This is completely normal, I assure you. This is my personal monologue whenever I fail. You have failed now, this singular time, but that indicates nothing of the future. Instead, see this failure as a benchmark. This is how well I've done today, and now I can go further, become better than my past self. And just as how I use my judge's feedback, you can use your own feedback, because you know yourself the best. Think about exactly what happened, what was in your control, and what you can do to improve. This is refinement, using past failures and defeats to better yourself. Unfortunately, there will inevitably be times when you falter on the last step of your interpretive dance routine. Your bake sale souffle deflates in the oven, or someone is simply better than you. This is when you've met luck. It takes all control out of your hands. And the best thing to do is to just accept that you will never have full autonomy. In fact, researchers at the University of California, Berkeley have found that people who understand that not everything is in their control actually have decreased stress and improved memory. So for a better cognitive performance, it's all about understanding exactly what is in your power. Yeah, it sucks to lose, especially if you have spent time and energy to improve. But never, never fall into the trap of believing that you have wasted your efforts because of a simple defeat. That risks becoming bitter and losing your passion. Instead, recognize that your time, energy, and efforts have improved yourself, made you stronger, and sharpened your abilities, and they will pay off in some capacity in some point in time. Learning how to fail is an essential skill now and in the future beyond high school. In a 2017 New York Times article, reporter Jessica Bennett reveals that many students at top schools are unable to deal with small setbacks. She writes that students were showing up at residential life offices, distraught and inconsolable when they received less than an A-, ending up in the counseling center when they were rejected from a club. Students are so afraid of failing that they avoid taking risks at all. These schools are supposed to cultivate game changers, but instead these students have such a harmful mindset that they are prevented from starting on, let alone achieving their goals. This is sad, but entirely preventable. By working to change high schoolers' mindsets, we can ensure that kids grow up to be functional and, more importantly, joyful members of society. Now, I'm not much of an athlete, but I do know a good quote when I see one. Legendary basketball coach John Wooden writes, "Success is a peace of mind, the direct result of self-satisfaction in knowing you have done the best and becoming the best that you are capable of becoming. I believe that any true success stems from accepting failures and growing from them. And that comes from a whole lot of self-love. The tips I've described today, redefining yourself, refining your technique with the help of past failures, and resigning to the fact that you can never be in control, will help you gain and treat yourself a little bit better in this wild game of life. These tips are simple, deceptively simple, but they're difficult to implement. But if you ever find yourself failing at this, don't fret. Take a step back, put down the controller, and hit restart. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Catherine Odom. Catherine is a senior at Unionville High School, and she is active in the school newspaper and speech and debate program. These activities have helped her develop her interests in storytelling and writing, and she hopes to use these skills to continue learning and to continue helping